Hi everyone! I'm Sean, and today I'm going to be reviewing Things You Save in a Fire by Katherine Center. I got this book from the library because I saw one of the booktubers I subscribed to had this book in one of their videos. I think it was either a book haul video or a to-read video. So I got it just to take a chance on it. I've never heard of this author or book before, I think, but she wrote another book, How to Walk Away, which I may have heard of. That sounds vaguely familiar. Maybe if I saw the cover, I'd be like, oh yeah, that book, I've seen that. Okay, so I did not read the back of the book or the synopsis or anything before reading it because I like to go into books blind, not knowing anything what to expect. So this book is about Cassie, who is a firefighter and a woman. And that's a big part of the book, is she's a woman. In fact, that's really the main thing about the book, is she's a woman. Did you get that she's a woman? That's very important to remember. She's a woman. And she's a firefighter. A woman firefighter. Not just a firefighter, a female firefighter. A woman firefighter. Did you get that she's a woman? Okay, so where to start with this book? There are books, if you've watched my channel before, you may know that I am a pretty critical reader. I do not like a lot of the books I read. However, most of the books that I do not like have some failing that really doesn't bother me too much personally. Like, I don't really hate the book, it's just not for me. Something about the writing or just like repeated words or needless words, needless description, overusing character names. There's a ton of stuff that just makes me roll my eyes and get tired of a book and want to give up on it. Or maybe there's just, it's too wordy, it's too long. There's any number of things that make me not really like a book. But that is more just, I can't really get into it, it's not for me. This is more a book that I hated, like through and through hated. And not because of the writing per se, but the actual substance of the story. The story itself, just, I hated it. Starting the book was really the first red flag. The very beginning of the book is talking about Cassie is getting an award because she is the best firefighter in the town, which right there, that shows you what the book is going to be like. So she's getting this award for being the best firefighter ever, and one of her male colleagues just starts hitting on her, trying to sleep with her, just consistent, like, hey, let's go tonight, you and me. And she's just like, no, I don't want to, and he just presses on, come on, come on, come on. On and on again for like 4 pages, just relentless. Come on, let's go tonight. And she's just, nope, nope, nope. And he just keeps pestering her and pestering her. And I was just like, oh my God, is this what it's gonna be like? Please don't fall for this guy. And then at the end, she is like starting to think, well, maybe. And then he is like, haha, I almost had you, didn't I? It was just a prank they were putting on at the fire station. On this night where she is having the biggest night of her life because she's getting an award for being the best firefighter in the world, and she's a woman. And so this male colleague is doing this, just hitting on her and being completely repulsive. But it's all a joke, haha. Now, that was bothering me enough. But one thing that also bothered me about that, how at the end, Cassie kind of admits to herself that she was beginning to fall for it and think like, maybe. And what I don't like about that is such a stereotype from like the 1970s, where in films especially, there was this idea that women will say no, but if you just start and force them to basically have sex with you, in the middle of the act, they will admit they like it and suddenly they will love you. And that was a message, I think, really popular in the 70s, that if you just force the woman, that's secretly what they want. They want you to make them love you, basically, and just don't take no for an answer. Just force them, and then in the middle of the act, then suddenly they'll start enjoying it. That was very popular in like 1970s movies, and I absolutely hate that because that's just a disgusting theme or whatever. And that's kind of what this author was doing with this book. Just this male keeps pestering her. And so at the very end, she's like, well, okay, I think I would actually like this. And yeah, I just hate that, because it just says, hey, when women say no, they don't really mean no. They want you to force them. And that is kind of this stereotype that I think this author was pushing at the very start of the book. It was still early in the book though, but this male colleague just pestering her and then her finally breaking down and thinking, maybe I would actually like this. I wanted to give up on the book right there. I was close to it, but I was like, come on, this can't be the whole book. I mean, something has to happen, and you know, I wanted to give it more of a chance, so I kept reading. Immediately from there was the second red flag. This politician stands up to give her this award. And who is it? It's a male from Cassie's history who, it's very obviously implied, raped her years back. So it goes from this male colleague just badgering her, trying to get her to sleep with him, straight into this politician from her past who sexually traumatized her. So she reluctantly gets up to accept this award, and he gropes her, of course. Now, I'm going to actually skip to kind of the end of the story, but it's not really important. It's not too much of a spoiler, and if it is, I don't care, because I wouldn't recommend this book anyway. At the end of the book, you find out that some other women come forward to say this mayor, or actually he's not a mayor, he's like a city councilman, that he was sexually abusive to them as well. And so he ends up losing his position and is of course replaced by a woman, because the only one who could possibly replace a corrupt man is a woman. Are you noticing a theme yet? Cassie is talking to the reader about why she didn't come forward herself, and basically she implies she didn't come forward because it was Texas, and apparently men can do whatever they want in Texas. That's just the law there. Men don't get arrested in Texas, apparently. Anyway, so right after this, actually kind of while this is going on, Cassie gets a call from her mother, who lives in the Northeast, I think. And her mother is pretty estranged to her, like they are not really close. Her mother wants her to come over and live with her because she has a problem with her eyes, and so she needs Cassie's help. So what the story kind of promises is that you'll have this story about the daughter and mother reuniting and getting over their differences. Now, that had some potential, but I felt in the end that this rejoining of the family was just really abruptly done. Cassie goes from just not really liking her mother at all to the two just kind of instantly bonding. And it just didn't work for me. It's also perfectly timed that right after Cassie hits this city councilman, because that's what she does when he gropes her, she hits him. The mother is saying, hey, can you come over and live with me? And Cassie is like, oh no, I can't, I have this job. But the very next morning, her police chief calls her in, and I'll get to this in a minute. And the chief says, you know, hey, either you need to apologize or we're basically getting rid of you. On the day after, her mother says, hey, can you come live with me? So very convenient timing there. So Cassie ends up moving over to her mother's and getting a job over there, which I'll get into also. But I mentioned her captain. The police captain calls her in and talks with her. Her captain in Texas is actually a woman. But this captain tells her that in order to fit in, she basically needs to de-womanize herself. And her captain gives her this whole list of things to do, like cutting her hair, don't giggle, don't laugh, don't talk in a high-pitched voice, and just list after list of all these things, like don't do this, don't do this. Basically, don't be a woman, because a woman can't possibly fit in as a firefighter. Are you noticing a theme yet? And have I mentioned that Cassie is a woman and that she's a firefighter and that she's good at what she does, and every man in this book is trash? So Cassie leaves her job. She basically quits or gets fired, basically. And so she moves to her mother and gets a job at this other fire station where it's all male firefighters. And everyone is immediately like, oh my God, we can't work with a woman. This will break up the brotherhood we have. And all the men in the fire department are worried that they'll have to hide their stash of adult magazines. And this is a very frequent theme in the book, that the men are worried about her presence because how can they look at their magazines and all this stuff when she is there? And it's very clear in the book that these firefighters all share a common space. So apparently, all these firefighters do all day is look at dirty magazines and movies and stuff together in the same space and get off on that together, because there's no privacy in this fire department. And so that's just weird. Like, do men ever do that? Just looking at dirty magazines together as like a group? Like, just, hey, you're right there and I'm right here and he's right there and we're all looking at this stuff and handling our business all together. And that's what men do. And that is just like, I don't think men are like that. Men may like their magazines, but they wouldn't be doing it like around 6 other guys. I'm kind of cutting forward again to the end of the book, but there is another firefighter who's kind of an older guy who really does not like Cassie being in the fire department. And he very explicitly says at the end, the reason he doesn't like her being around is because they have to hide all their adult things. That is why he doesn't like her. And previously in the book, he actually stalked her. He writes a profane word describing her or women in her locker, and he does some other stuff. He slashes her tires and writes something about, you know, get out of here, quit, and all this stuff, because he doesn't want her around, because how can they ever look at their magazines when there's a woman here? And part of why I think this is a failing, never mind that it's like so misogynistic, if these guys all like looking at magazines and stuff, and they all like looking at women, why would they really not like having a woman around? I mean, that's what you're looking at all day, is these magazines, these pictures, these videos, or whatever, and there's an actual woman right in front of you to look at, and whatever, where you have an actual somewhat a chance with her. But no, we don't want women here. We don't like women. But why? Because we want to have our magazines where we could look at women. That makes no sense whatsoever. If they want to look at women, they should like having this woman here. So at the end of the book, this stalker guy basically tries to frame her by sending her into this fire, this burning building, to make her look bad, and presumably either get her killed or get her fired, because he really wants to get rid of her because she's a woman. And so Cassie later goes to his house or whatever and sees that he's overdosed on something. And so she gets him breathing again and all that and saves his life. And then they talk about how he was, you know, trying to frame her and was stalking her and doing all these mean things to her, how he was the bad guy. And so he is like, oh, so are you going to call the police on me? And so she says, no, I'm going to take you to rehab. So he goes through all that, and then he presumably he gets suspended from the fire department and will probably lose his pension, all because he didn't want her around because they had to hide their dirty magazines. And so then she gets him a t-shirt that says, this is what a feminist looks like. And that is like at the very end of the book almost. And that was just such a eye roll. Also, when Cassie joins this fire department, on the same day, another male firefighter joins the crew. And for most of the rest of the book, he is known as the Rookie. And this is another problem I had with the book, is 96% of the time, whenever the author refers to this character, she calls him the Rookie, both in narration and in dialogue. Just the Rookie. The Rookie came in and said, the Rookie, the Rookie, the Rookie. That's just the name she uses over and over again to describe this guy. And I don't know why she does that, because you know in the book that his name is Owen. So why she just continually says the Rookie as if that's his name, and everyone just calls him the Rookie. And so is that just going to be what everyone calls him for the rest of time, is the Rookie? That was just really annoying. It's very clear in the book that Cassie does not believe in love. In fact, there is a part of the book very explicitly where Cassie says that she thinks that love is something that girls made up so that they would feel better about porn, basically. That basically women don't really have any kind of urges. All this stuff about love is just made up and just to make them feel better about themselves. So the author is trying to make this character be different. You know, hey, Cassie isn't like other girls, but other girls are just, oh man, they believe in all this stuff about love and it's just nonsense and they just make that up. There's no such thing as love. And that's just annoying and really it's offensive in a way because, I mean, it's derogatory towards other women as well as men. I mean, just saying that because she doesn't really feel love is real, that everyone else is just making it up to feel better about themselves. And that's really just offensive, just offending every other woman. Instead of making Cassie look like a strong, independent woman, she just slanders every other woman as inferior to her. But as soon as she meets this Rookie, she is immediately in love with him. It's insta-love. And she's just like, oh, he's the most gorgeous thing I've ever seen. And he's so strong. He is like the most strongest guy I've ever seen. He is just the perfect male specimen. And I just love him. And I'm willing to quit my job or do anything for him. This is from Cassie, this woman who's just like, oh no, I'm a professional. I'm the best. I'm a firefighter. I'm really good at what I do. I love what I do, but here's this really attractive guy. I immediately love him and am willing to give up everything for him. That is just such a tiresome stereotype. Like, why can't this tough, independent woman just be a professional? Like, hey, there is this cute guy, but you know what? I'm a professional. I'm a professional firefighter. I love what I do. I'm going to focus on my job. Nope, she can't do that. Suddenly, her lady parts just completely take over. And that is just, again, that's not making her this tough, independent woman, this strong, independent woman that I think this author is going for. It just makes her a weakling. Just immediately, she is just infatuated with this guy. Something very frequent throughout the book is that it is against the rules to date other firefighters. And that's throughout the book and always mentioned, like, oh, I don't date firefighters and it's against the rules. And it's not really against the rules because there's no actual rules that say you can't do this. It's just an unspoken rule. No dating firefighters. And so again and again, that is just repeated again and again, and that is why Cassie and Owen, the Rookie, really can't be together because it's against the rules. But here's the thing. If women have like never ever been firefighters before and they're just not part of this club, they're not used to ever having female firefighters in these departments, how are there these rules about no dating firefighters? Why would that be a thing if there are no female firefighters? So in this author's viewpoint, everything boils down to sex and basically hatred. The men do not like this woman being around because it ruins their brotherhood, and she does not fit in with all these men, but she doesn't fit in with any woman either because she is better. She's not just better than every other woman, she is better than every other man. No one can be professionals in this book. No one can just professionally work together because apparently that cannot happen. Men and women cannot get along as professionals or colleagues or even friends. There has to be sexual tension between them. They cannot mix. It has always been a club, men versus women, and they never work together anywhere apparently. This is just such a viewpoint out of the 1950s or 1960s. It's just diluted. Now, I've already alluded to how she wants to do everything better. Not just better than every woman because she's not just a powerful woman. No, she is more powerful than any other guy. So throughout the book, she proves herself by being better than everyone. So she is a medical professional, which a lot of the other volunteer firefighters aren't. They're just like basic firefighters, but she's also a paramedic because she's so smart and talented. When she first gets to the station, they're all like, oh, you can't do what we do. So she immediately starts doing pull-ups, and in rapid succession, she does pull-ups, and it says in the book that are more pull-ups than most men could do, and just quickly and effortlessly does all of them. A short time later, the guys are all hanging out, like shooting baskets or whatever. And so she gets the basketball, and the men are all like, oh no, you can't play basketball. So she begins doing trick shots and everything, and she sinks like 38 baskets in a row. I think it says 38 in a row, including like throwing it over her shoulder, not looking, and it just goes in 38 in a row. So again, she is just better than everyone, including the Los Angeles Lakers. Later, when this guy is stalking her and she is wondering who is doing this, who wants to get her off this fire department, she says, all right, I want all of you guys to pick your strongest, your best man and pit him against me, and we'll run an obstacle course. And so, of course, the men pick Owen because he is the strongest one of them. He is young, he is fit, he is the perfect male specimen. So he and Cassie run this obstacle course together, and of course, she beats him. She is better than every other man in other ways as well. She is described as having a strong stomach and everything. So there is a part where they need to draw blood or something, and I think Owen faints because he can't stand the sight of blood. And she is just like impervious to it. She's just like, oh, this is nothing. But he faints because he's a weakling, and males are weaklings, and she is just stronger than anyone. And have I mentioned that she's a woman? She is not just a woman, she is better than everyone, not just as a firefighter. She is also a better captain, because the captain, the male captain of this new fire station she goes to, is basically inept. He's not doing anything about maintaining the place. So Cassie starts applying for grants to fix the place up, to get them new bedding, to get them new equipment and everything, to paint the walls and everything, to fix up the station. The male captain hears about this and is really pissed at her, just like, hey, this isn't your job, this is my job. But of course he's not doing it, so she had to do it because the male in charge was doing nothing. It was up to the woman to do everything, so she does it. So she is a better captain than him, and so she fixes the place up, and he is angry about that because that's his job. Do you also remember how the politician gets replaced later on by a woman? Because men just can't do jobs. Men are inferior, and she is better than everyone, including men. There is no such thing in this book as a professional, competent, qualified, skilled man. It's just Cassie is head and shoulders above everyone else, and everyone beneath her, all the guys just hate her because she's a woman, and beneath that is all women. And they are weak, and they can't stand up to men, but Cassie can. So there's Cassie on top, then there's men who just hate Cassie, and then beneath all the men is all the other women who are weak and believe in this stupid thing called love, while at the same time Cassie is immediately in love with this other firefighter and is just willing to do anything to just be with him. She just loves him, she's infatuated with him because reasons. Also, I mentioned that it seems like the author thinks it's the 1950s in this book. Another way that comes through is throughout the book, all the characters have this really big deal about profanity. Like, do not swear around that. Because everyone is just like, oh, we can't swear around. Why do I keep saying around? So all these male characters are like, we cannot. So all these male, we cannot swear around women. And it's a recurring theme in the book. Any kind of swear word like, oh no, we're not supposed to swear, there's a woman around us, ah. And she likes to swear too, but she can't swear because they don't want to swear either. So everyone is all super worried about swearing. There are other things in this book as well. There is a coworker at the fire department who is fat, and that is the only way that Cassie or the author describes him for the rest of the book, is the fat one. So a lot of people don't like body shaming in books. So whatever. So that's also a part of this book, and this character is just always referring to this character just as fat. That's all he is. He's not a guy, he's fat. That's it. The fat one. Anyway, I think that's about it. There are probably doubtlessly other things in this book where I could talk about this basically same thing. But that's what it boils down to, is this is just feminist trash. If it was like the 1950s, 1960s, it may make more sense, but not in today's day and age. And just to write a book where the whole premise is men bad and misogyny is bad, and that's the only message of the book, and women are powerful. Or not even that, women are weak because women believe in love, and love is just made up. No, the only real strong one is Cassie, because she is better than everyone at everything. She is better than the police captain. She's better than all the other firefighters. She's better than the paramedics. She's better than every male. She's stronger than every male. She can beat all of them. She can sink all these 38 baskets in a row doing trick shots. She belongs on the Harlem Globetrotters or the Los Angeles Lakers. They need her badly. I would say that this book would kill every other book from the writer for me, but I don't know if the other books by this author are like this. I know a lot of people like that other book, How to Walk Away. I don't know if that has the same themes at all as this book. So maybe I would read another book by the author, but if I see the same kind of message, I would just quickly DNF it. So this book gets a clear and easy 1 star. I think it's a terrible book. Personally, I would just throw it in the garbage. I hate that it's a library book, so I have to return it. Personally, I would just trash it if I could, but Hey, it's me. I can't talk long because I have a pizza to eat. Yum. So I just wanted to quickly talk about how this book could have been better, aside from just throwing it out. So the first part is making Cassie more likable. You have to make me want to root for your character. And I can't do that when it's just this perfect woman who's better than everything because she's a woman. And she's better than every other man just because. I think that is a bad way to push feminism. Just women are better than everything men can do because girl power. And that does not really make you root for a character. You don't root for a character just because of all of their strengths. What makes a character more relatable, more root for a character, is their flaws. And Cassie does not really have flaws. The only flaws that she has in the book is she is not a good cook. And why is that her flaw? Because it is reversing gender stereotypes. So Cassie can't cook. So reversing gender stereotypes, haha. And that's just bad. You need to have a more flawed character. For instance, if she was not better than every other guy, if maybe she could beat a few of the guys, but she had to work extra hard just to do that, that makes her more relatable. So you can actually make her stronger just by showing how she is more mediocre in certain ways, like physicality, somewhat, but she has to work extra hard, and that is because she is determined. She's a professional. She wants to be able to do her job well. That would make her more relatable than just she is a superhero and she's better than everyone because girl power and she's better than every other man. That's just weak. And I alluded to her relationship with her mother. I don't know exactly how that could have been fixed, but just basically not by doing it the way the author did, which seemed to just quickly they start getting along. That just happened way too easily. And that could have been more the focus of this book, I felt. Instead, the focus was on this insta-love story, this romance, and her getting together with this perfect guy and falling in love. Because that is everything that Cassie was against. Because she talks about how she is a professional, she's really into her job, she doesn't really believe in love. Why can't you stick with that if that's the case? Why not just make her so like she's asexual? So she doesn't really want to get in a relationship. She doesn't really want to have a man in her life. She doesn't want to be a mother. She doesn't want to get married or whatever. That would make the character more relatable. Where she's just a professional, where she could see this really attractive guy and is just like, man, he's good looking. But she's a professional. She loves her job, and just stick to that and show that she's a professional, that she does not let these sexual urges get the better of her, that she does not just break down and fall in love with this perfect guy and whatever, because that just violates everything that Cassie should stand for. She would be more relatable, like I said, if she did not fall for the guy. Just to be, hey, I'm a professional, we can be just friends. And be good friends with the guy. Make him a best friend. Why can't the male and female just be friends? And that would be a better story, I think, and it would be truer to Cassie's character. And that she's just really close with this guy. Maybe she becomes the captain, maybe he does, who knows? Maybe she is a captain and he is the lead or whatever. And they're able to work together and get along. But no, the author does not do that. They have to fall in love, and she has to marry him and have his baby. And so in the end, she winds up basically how every other woman does, just falling in love. And that's weak. It would be more relatable if she was a professional and she kept to her job and he kept to his job. Those are two main ways I think the book could have been immensely better. That is it for this review. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.